Hey, what is up, Frag fam? Corbin here again from Northwest Scent. So when I've ranked the fragrances from a specific house from my least favorite to my most favorite, you guys have really enjoyed those videos a lot. You know, I've done a few of them. I think I've done it for the House of Creed so far, Roger Parfums, and Tom Ford. So today we are going to continue this little series, I guess you could say, with the House of Christian Dior. Now, I own 10 fragrances from the House of Dior, so I have a good variety here. I have freshies, I have cold weather fragrances, I have stuff that's good for the office. So a good variety of fragrances, like I said, 10. This is going to be a really hard house for me to rank my preferences. So if you guys do want to find out how I'm going to rank these fragrances, then please stick around. But first, let's roll that intro. Alright guys, welcome back from the intro, and like I said, this is going to be ranking my entire Christian Dior fragrance collection from my least favorite to my most favorite, and again we have 10 fragrances total, so a pretty good variety here. Let's hop into the list at the number 10 spot. Okay, so starting the video off, so this is the one that is my least favorite from my collection, but these are all just amazing fragrances. Honestly, aside from probably the top two here, you could like change this order on any given day and you know, I really wouldn't question it. You know, this is just how I'm feeling at this moment. I really like this one still, but as of current, this one is my least favorite from my collection. So this is coming from the house, again, of Dior, of course. This is Fahrenheit, the original Eau de Toilette. Now this one, it's a classic. I think it came out in 1988 and it definitely has a little bit of kind of a vintage feel, but I don't think it smells old school. And while there is a little bit of maturity here, I think it is a pretty versatile fragrance. I feel super confident wearing this one. I think really anybody can wear it. And not only that, but it has a nice versatility because it is a little bit fresh, but it also does have some darker aspects to it as well. So you get a lot of violet leaf in here, vetiver, and leather. And while there are a bunch of notes in this fragrance, like a huge list of them, those are the ones that are most prominent to my nose. And usually how this one kind of gets described is it's almost like diesel or petrol. It kind of has like this gasoline smell, which I can definitely see, but it's not just that. This doesn't smell like straight up gas. It is woody, it's a little bit fresh like I said, but it is dark at the same time. I think that's really coming from the leather here. Adds kind of a brooding nature to this fragrance. And then of course the violet leaf is kind of what gives this that like petrol vibe in a way. It's almost like a little bit metallic and sharp and almost has like this like astringent vibe to it, but not like a soap or like a cleaner per se. It's really hard to describe, just one that you have to smell for yourself. I really do like this one, but again, as of current, this one is probably just ever so slightly my least favorite Dior fragrance in my collection. So again, here at the number 10 spot, my least favorite, this is Fahrenheit from the House of Dior. Okay, so moving on to the number 9 spot now. I think for many people, this would probably be in the top half of their list, or maybe even like their number 1 or 2 spot. This thing is super popular, and I can definitely see why. Just for me, there's another fragrance from the house that is similar that I much prefer, which that one is gonna be farther up the list. This is still a great one though, that's why I have it in my collection. Super nice and refreshing for the ultra high heat. So this is coming from the house of Dior. I don't even need to say that. This is Homme Cologne. Dior Homme Cologne, that sounded weird, Homme Cologne. But, you know, this is just an iced glass of lemonade. That's what so many people say. I find it to not really be ultra sweet, or really there's no sweetness to this fragrance at all. So I usually like to compare this more to like lemon water, you know, like fresh iced water that has some like lemon juice squirted in it. That's kind of what you're getting from this fragrance. It's very light, honestly. There's not much presence here, but the scent itself is extremely natural smelling and fantastic. Again, you're mostly getting this kind of sharp citrusy quality to it. There is a little bit of kind of a white floral nature as well, and then a very prominent clean musk. And you know, that's basically it with this fragrance. Again, not very complex, not much going on, but what's here smells really nice. So I had to place it again somewhere here in this list. As of right now, this is just falling towards the back here at the number 9 spot. I do still enjoy this stuff from time to time, and I do wear it. So again, here at the number 9 spot, that was Dior Homme Cologne. Alright, so up next here at the number 8 spot, we are actually continuing with the Dior Homme line. So the previous one was Dior Homme Cologne at the number 9 spot. This is the other fresh fragrance from this line, and I ever so slightly prefer this to Dior Homme Cologne, although I think most people would probably have the order switched. A lot of people like Dior Homme Cologne better. There's something with this one that just smells really nice, and it is pretty unique as well. So like I said, this is coming from the Dior Homme line, and this is the Sport Flanker. This one is a lot more different from Dior Homme Cologne. While it is still very very fresh. I actually do find this one to be a little bit richer. There's actually a nice little bit of a sweet presence here, and it just has more complexity to it. So this one features a lot of citruses. The most dominant is blood orange. You also get sandalwood in here, which brings a little bit of a creaminess, although to me, I'm getting more of kind of a dry woodiness from this fragrance. You get a little bit of geranium and then even vetiver in this fragrance as well. The geranium just makes this nice and refreshing. You know, it brings kind of like an icy feeling almost in a way to this fragrance. It's not really like super minty or anything like that. It's just very supportive. And then like I said, you get a little bit of vetiver in here. Extremely fresh vetiver, extremely woody, nothing dirty, earthy, grassy with this style of vetiver. And in general, this stuff's just really lovely. I don't think many people have actually even tried this one. So if you're one of those people, if you like this line of fragrances, but you want something that is fresh but just different, you should really check out this one. So again, that was Dior Homme Sport here at the number 8 spot. A really solid freshie from the house, but we have some better stuff to come. Okay, so moving on to the number 7 spot now, we're gonna be hopping out of the Dior Homme line at least for a little bit here. Now, this is a line of fragrances that from the house at one point, I wanna say had over 10 different fragrances. They had so many different ones. I don't even know all of them off the top of my head. They've done away with a lot of them, and now there's only a few left. I've tried about 3, I wanna say, and this is my favorite of the 3 that I've tried. So this is the overall best rendition of this kind of DNA. Now this one is back in the Fahrenheit line, and this is Le Parfum. Now, like I said, this is my favorite flanker in this line, and for good reason. This maintains actually a decent amount of the original. Some people say you barely get the original in this flanker. I find you get a very nice dose of it. You can still pick up kind of that fresh, diesel-y, almost like sharp metallic DNA, but it's been smoothened out so much here with rum and vanilla. So this is like going in a sensual, almost like date night direction with that DNA. Again, whereas the original is a lot more like mature and just a little bit brash, you know, just very confident. This one's a little more laid back, a little bit more approachable, more sensual. Taking that sweet vanilla, mixing with the violet leaf, which is breezy, again, kind of diesel smelling, and then that warm and slightly sweet kind of boozy rum. I think it's an amazing concoction here. Definitely one you guys need to check out. So again, here at the number 7 spot, that again was in the Fahrenheit line, and it was Le Parfum. Okay, so we are almost halfway now here at the number 6 spot, and at one point this was possibly my favorite flanker, not only from this line, but my favorite fragrance from the house in general. I really liked this stuff, and I still do enjoy it quite a bit. You know, that's why it's towards the middle of the list, but it slipped a little bit just because I kind of got tired of the DNA, I guess you could say, and there's other stuff that I've recently picked up that has really taken me by surprise and, you know, maybe shifted it back a little bit. So there's multiple reasons for that. Still a solid fragrance nonetheless. This one is coming from the Dior Homme line, and this is Eau for Men, which has been discontinued sadly. And this thing caught so much hype after the discontinuation. Like nobody really talked about it. As soon as it got discontinued, everybody started buying it up, you know. And it is a really good one. I am sad that it's gone. And what this one's all about, and why I think it's a really kind of distinguishable flanker from this line, is it is fresh, but this still retains the iris. So this is the only flanker that has kind of that waxy iris that the line is known for, while still going in kind of a fresher direction as well. So for your freshness, that is coming from grapefruit and then bergamot as well. So you do get a nice dose of citrus in here. And then, of course, like I said, you're getting that iris. It's waxy, just like all of the other flankers that utilize iris here in this line, but you also do get a nice touch of sweetness at the same time, which is coming from the amber, and there's a little bit of kind of that woody touch that you get in, say, the original, for example, which in this case is coming from cedar. So this one, again, it's kind of waxy, but it almost is a little bit soapy because of the freshness, which to me makes this an excellent office fragrance. And this actually gets compared a little bit to Prada L'Homme, which is known as like the king of the office or whatever, so you can kind of see why this would be a good overall work fragrance. It just has a little bit of freshness, a little bit of maturity, and a little bit of cleanliness at the same time, and even a little bit of this sweet quality. So it's balancing a bunch of these different nuances. It's a really solid flanker. If you guys are able to find a bottle of this stuff for a good deal, I think it is worth it, especially if you do like the original, like Dior Homme, but maybe you want something that's a little bit fresher. So again, that's just how it fell here in this list at the number 6 spot. I still do like this stuff quite a bit. And again, that was Dior Homme Eau. Okay, so moving on to the next fragrance spot. Now we are going to be staying within the Dior Homme line, and this is actually my second favorite flanker as of current. We have one other farther up the list, but this one used to actually be farther back up the list for me. Dior Homme Eau used to be probably my second favorite, I want to say, but this one has kind of taken its place, or I should really just say it kind of changed places with it. There's something with it that's just grown on me a little bit more recently. I've always loved it, but I love this stuff even more now. And like I said, we're staying within the Dior Homme line, and this is Dior Homme Intense. Such a unique fragrance. Now this one is a pretty fitting name, Dior Homme Intense. This really does smell like kind of a beefed up version of the original Dior Homme, aside from the fact that this one doesn't have the cacao that the original had. So you could definitely kind of get like a chocolatey vibe from the original Dior Homme, while even though that one was still fresh, it did still have some darker and even like slightly gourmand tendencies with that cacao. This one is completely missing that. Instead, this is focusing around muskmallow, also known as ambrette, but this one still does actually have a nice bit of sweetness, which is coming from some pear. And then of course you are getting that iris, just like all of the Dior Homme flankers for the most part have here. Again, it is still waxy, it is still kind of makeup like, even a little bit powdery, I want to say. Not quite as strong in this one, to my nose at least, as like say with Dior Homme Eau, but it is still very detectable. And what I also really like about this one is it has an aromatic side coming from some lavender. So overall, again, it's just a really well-rounded fragrance. Again, a beefed up version of the original Dior Homme. So if you guys like that one, but you want something that's even longer lasting, this is a great one to go for. So again, this one was here at the number 5 spot, and that was Dior Homme Intense. Alright, so up next we're going to be talking about my favorite fresh fragrance from this house, and this is the one that I was referencing earlier when I was talking about Dior Homme Cologne and how I was saying there's something that's very similar also from Dior, but one that I just much prefer. Well, this is that fragrance, and this is one that I've talked about numerous times. One of my favorite just overall fresh and very citrus forward fragrances in my entire collection, which this one is Eau Sauvage Cologne. And oh my gosh, this stuff is so good. I believe that even if you don't like the original Eau Sauvage, you would still gravitate towards this one because really there's not many similarities between the two. This is a huge departure from that one. That has a very just kind of vintage, old school aromatic side to it, you know, has lots of herbs and spices and maybe even a little bit of lavender as well. While this one does kind of have a little bit of a green feel to it, it's really nothing like that original fragrance. This is mostly a fresh, musky citrus bomb with a little bit of a sweet touch and then a little bit of that kind of green feel, like I said earlier. So this one focuses around a lot of grapefruit and then a lot of bergamot and even a little bit of mandarin orange, which brings a little bit of that kind of sweet quality that I was talking about. This also has petitgrain and then vetiver with a little bit of hedione, which gives you kind of that green feel that I was talking about. Makes it a little bit aromatic, but not in like a barbershop direction or anything like that. Again, this is a citrus bomb with a little bit of a sweet quality and then a little bit of a green and almost woody feel as well. I actually get really good performance, especially for the fact that this is an eau de cologne. It's not just called Eau Sauvage Cologne, but it is an actual eau de cologne concentration. But again, I get really good performance out of this as well, usually about 6-ish hours, which, you know, like I said, I can give this thing mad props for that. For this style of DNA and then the actual concentration that it is, I think it does really well. So again, that was here at the number 4 spot, and it was Dior Eau Sauvage Cologne. Okay, so moving on to the number 3 spot. This is the most recent release from Dior, at least on their regular designer side. I'm not really sure about their Privé line of fragrances, but this has been a mad hyped release. I did my first impressions on this one about a month ago, so if you guys missed that, I'll try and link that above. Definitely check it out for my full thoughts, but I really am impressed with this stuff, which we are talking about the Sauvage line, just the original, and this is the brand new Elixir flanker. Man, this stuff is so freaking good. I don't own any of the other Sauvage flankers. I have in the past, but I've gotten rid of all of them. They just weren't really worth keeping around for me. That's just how I felt about them. But there's something really unique and different with this one while still retaining a very small inkling of the original Sauvage. You're almost like peeking through some curtains that are barely cracked open and you're getting the small view of the original. That's kind of what it's like here with this fragrance, but it's really mostly its own thing. This thing is ultra spicy. It's got a nice little bit of an aromatic touch from some lavender, and there's even a little bit of a woody feel. And again, it's very sweet as well, but this is mostly dominated by some warm spices like cinnamon and then nutmeg. There's really nothing super fresh spicy with this one. Again, it's more of like a holiday kind of spicy feel where it's really warm and enveloping. It's almost giving you like a spice hug, you know. It's just got this really nice nature to it. I love the way this stuff smells overall. Just a great release overall from Dior. Mad props for this one. So again, here at the number 3 spot, that was the newest release from Dior. That was Sauvage Elixir. Okay, so we are finally down to the last 2 fragrances now, and these are the 2 that really stand shoulders above the rest of the fragrances that we have previously talked about. I absolutely prefer these. Like, this is no questions asked, and these 2 were pretty hard for me to put in order. These also, I could probably like change the order on any given day. Just right now, this is how I'm feeling. So the one here at the number 2 spot, this is again in the Eau Sauvage line, and this is Eau Sauvage Parfum. I do have the 2012, which I will show you. That's actually right here. I do actually ever so slightly prefer the 2012 formulation, but I still find the 2017 amazing. And the reason I'm using this one in the video, of course, is because 2012 is discontinued and it's gonna run you a pretty penny. This stuff you can find decently readily available for an okay price. So this focuses around citron, lavender, vetiver, and then elemi. A really just nice, simple citrus aromatic that smells extremely high quality. There's not like a jumbled mess of notes in here that are all kind of colliding with one another. It's very simple, but they all work extremely well together. They all kind of have their own place, doing their own job. This thing is beautifully citrusy, tart. You do get a nice bit of sweetness from that elemi, which also brings a little bit of a balsamic, resinous, almost licoricey vibe to the fragrance as well. Adds some nice longevity to this stuff. And then of course you do get an aromatic touch from that lavender. And then the vetiver is nice and woody, just gives this thing a nice little bit of a backbone. This is an absolutely amazing fragrance. I will say it is a little bit mature, so if you like stuff that's more youthful, you're probably not gonna like this one. But if you wanna be a little bit adventurous, try stuff that does have a little bit of a class and a maturity to it, but smells extremely unique, one of a kind, and just amazing. Definitely check this one out from Dior. So again, my second favorite fragrance from the house as of current, this one was in the Eau Sauvage line, and this was the Parfum Flanker. Okay, so we of course are to the #1 spot now, which means this is my favorite fragrance from the house of Dior as of current, and not even just right now based on the ones that I own, but of everything that I've owned from Dior in the past. I've owned Ombre Nuit, I've had some of the other Privé line flankers. I said I've had all of the Sauvage flankers, I've had a couple of the other Dior Hommes, like the original of course. There's other fragrances that I'm probably missing that I've owned from Dior. Of everything that I've ever owned and I've ever tried, this is absolutely my favorite fragrance from the house. This stuff is amazing, one of a kind. So this one is in the Dior Homme line, and this is the Parfum Flanker. Dior does parfums just amazingly, like even Les Parfums from the Fahrenheit line. That's a great one. Like I said, you know, it's just a little bit farther back my list, but I think it's an amazing fragrance. They do parfums really, really well here in this house. So this flanker, to my nose, has the most dominant iris note. They are just pushing it forward here in this fragrance. It is extremely strong in your face. If you do not like that kind of waxy iris feel from this line, you're probably just gonna despise this fragrance because, like I said, this one has the strongest version of it. You also get a lot of leather in here. There's oud and then rose as well. So this one is quite brash. You know, it does have this leather while not really animalic. It is a little bit kind of rough and tumble. The oud here is very dark, very woody, not really an animalic oud, which is nice. And then you do get this really dark, masculine, but slightly jammy rose at the same time. Even though I'm not a huge rose lover, I really like it here in this fragrance. It really kind of just levels things out. It kind of offsets those darker notes that I was talking about. Just makes this thing really well rounded. You even get a little bit of orange in this fragrance, which brings a nice small touch of sweetness and fruitiness, which again, similar with the rose note in this fragrance, it really works to kind of offset these darker and heavier notes. I think this is just a perfectly done fragrance. If I was given the opportunity to change stuff with this, reformulate it, I would not do it. I would leave this stuff as is. So I know it's really hard to find, and it is basically discontinued at this point, at least here in North America. But if you guys are able to even just get a sample of this stuff, you really need to. An amazing stunner of a fragrance. So again, here at the #1 spot, this is my absolute favorite fragrance from the house. This is Dior Homme Parfum. Well, there you guys go. Again, that was me ranking my entire Dior Fahrenheit collection. Be sure to let me know down in the comments section below what your favorite fragrances from this particular house are. I would really like to hear that. Additionally, I really hope you guys enjoyed this one, and if you did, I would really appreciate dropping a like just to show your support, and then that way more people can see my videos on YouTube. Additionally, if you want to write a comment, maybe just let me know your thoughts, as well as some new video ideas or topics, that would be great too. And since you're down there doing all that stuff, if you've not already, if you could hit the subscribe button and then the bell notification, that would be amazing. That way you stay up to date on new videos whenever they get released going forward. But with all that out of the way, that's all I really have for you guys today. So I hope you have a good one. Stay healthy, stay wealthy, and smell great.